Hey, back for another Deb Diary, Ethiopia Part 2. Ethiopia alternative paths other than going historical, which feels strange because the historical path of Ethiopia results in your own downfall. So I presume these paths result in a less of an impact of a downfall. You fall, but you don't break all your teeth. Or you defeat the Italians, which technically isn't historical, but you can still do that on the historical path. I'm totally confused now. What is historical? What isn't historical? I don't even know anymore. Anyway, here is the alt historical path for Ethiopia. So we have reach out to the Italians, which you basically become the Italians, bitch. Build a relationship with your enemies. Know your enemy. And we also have military communism. Actually, no, I think about it. That makes sense, doesn't it? Like the idea of reaching towards anti-imperialism when you're being invaded by an empire. I guess it makes sense. Maybe, possibly. One thing I will say when we get deeper into this, the most spicy path is call out to the world here. So you've got Soviet aid. There's always the same path. You go communist, you either side with the Soviet Union, the home of the revolution, or you kind of do your own thing. And doing your own thing looks pretty spicy in this case. An African Union down here. Ooh. So the fascist path for Ethiopia is reach out to the Italians. So this is fascist and this is communist. One thing you've noticed with a lot of these focus trees is PDX are moving away from this formula of, well, there's one path for every ideology. In all fairness, that's a good idea because this idea of just forcing in a communist path or a democratic path that might be like one or two different focuses, I don't think is a good idea. I think this should be fully flushed out focuses with lots of different great ideas. So either rally around the emperor, such as your monarchist path, or you reach out to the Italians, which is the fascist path. So within the Ethiopian state, things aren't very centralized and you can sway the warlords so they have to come around the idea of working with the Italians, because the warlords won't be up to the idea of kind of working with your enemy whilst at war with them. Makes sense. And then if you go with expanding the bodyguards, you're guaranteed a bunch of elite divisions, which more than likely will help you defend against the Italians, which may convince them that this war is unwinnable. The bodyguards really are the body of Ethiopia. And then we got declare for Italy. So once this focus is taken, the fascist supporters will break away from Ethiopia and become an Italian puppet. Who that puppet is will depend on which leader was chosen to reach out to the Italians. So either rally around the emperor or reach out to the Italians. They're your basic two options. So this will determine who the leader of this civil war will be. And here we go. So we have Greater Ethiopia, original Ethiopia, the OG, and then we have Godjam. Oh yeah, that's right. And that's the one that's breaking away from Ethiopia. So will Godjam be at war with Italy? I would presume not, because they've already working with the Italians, aren't you? In this case, you're gonna have to defeat Ethiopia Greater. Once the civil war is over, what was once Ethiopia will be in tatters and under the yoke of Italian rule. That's going to be seen by the Victor Emmanuel I, which loses your political power. So this is specifically, Emmanuel is the emperor of Ethiopia. So this is gone with the emperor path. And you can also see, if you look really closely, Reich's protectorate. So you are a puppet of the Italian state. After completing the rebuilding your country, we have options to take. Each of this begins with a transition of moving Ethiopia away from the traditional empire and more towards a nation united under a leader with absolute authority. Rulers of absolute authority in the 1930s? Madness. So we've got replace the Abuna, the Desi Victory Parade, and invite Italian settlers. The Victory Parade, as you'd imagine, boosts fascism and war support, and also overall boosts your stability. It feels like you initially subjugate to the Italians, but secretly you're kind of building support locally in Ethiopia. That's how it kind of appears to me. This reminds me of the Manchu path, the puppet of Japan. The Manchu path is really cool, actually, so this excites me because it's so different. The Italian settlers, on the other hand, is a little bit different. To appear to your overlord that you are willing to work with them, you can invite Italian settlers, which boosts population 5% monthly, which is a strange one because you don't see that very often in default focus trees. It's something you see quite a lot in mods. Gives a big boost to construction, but you severely get a big penalty to attacking Ethiopia. So it's kind of suggesting that you're working with the Italians for more of the long run. 2 owned states will gain Italian settlers, upgrading them from rural, pastoral states and giving them new building slots. Wow! I'll say this again. You don't see this very often, so this is really cool. So when you upgrade from pastoral to rural, it basically gives you more building slots. This is probably something you've never done very often, but if you go on the building map mode and click on states map mode, you get all these different colors around the world. And you notice that the capital cities are like metropolises where they have more building slots, so potential to build higher in those regions. So potentially with this, you are actually building Ethiopia tall, which is just a weird concept in Hoi because you rarely have the option to do that. So I can only think of a few states that can do that. Like the Netherlands, for instance, you can play Netherlands tall. You start with like 3 or 4 states, don't you? And you have a lot of building options, but it's there. We've got the Feast. We have Swega, Exploit French Weakness, Underground War Games, Contact the Exiles. I'm going to guess, just a guess, I haven't read the rest of this. My guess is you're going to end up breaking away from Italy. again. In order to ensure the continued stability of the governorate of Ethiopia, we will gather the remaining ras to Prince, oh my goodness, the Feast of Maskal in that area. They will meet with the Viceroy of the Italian East Africa and discuss the future of the region. I like that there's kind of a story built into this focus tree. Another little conversation about focus trees. Not only should they give you something and have a build up to something with an eventual big payoff at the end, but I kind of a little bit of story baked in there as well. It's kind of exciting. It's sometimes very difficult to convey good story with a focus when it's just got the title, the thumbnail, and just a little bit of text. Maybe the future of Hoi 4 will be focuses that have like little videos and stuff. Man, that'd be so cool. Oh my god. Modders. Hoi 4. Introduce modders to have little videos in national focuses. That would be so cool. Little voiceovers. Oh wow. Someone to voice over and read it back to you? That would be so cool. Dyslexic boyo Dave approves that. Let me know in the comments if you approve that too. So we've got lots of options here. Working with the Italians even more and more and more and more. You've got a really spicy option here to get an Italian Air Force designer, which gives you research speed, reliability, ground attack. Pretty vanilla, to be honest with you. Nothing that really jumps out at me. But as a small African nation like Ethiopia, or in this case, Godjam, you've got the option to do some really cool things, which usually wouldn't be an option for you. Which leads to the last section of the collaborist subpath. After integrating Ethiopia into the Italian economic system, opening the nation up to the settlers, and reforming the military to fight alongside them, we begin to see the rewards of our loyalty. Under the focus Italian language, the Victor Emmanuel I national focus gets a potential upgrade, offering a boost of political command power gain. Wow, command power. That system of points that we rarely get to use. Well, we get to use it more these days because we can recruit generals with it. Shame we can't dismiss generals. Oh, when are we going to get dismiss general button? Oh, that'd be so good. On the other side of the compensation focus gives you the ability to request control of the Italian territory in East Africa. I can't get my mind around this. Like, whenever would the Italians be willing to give up their own colonies to give it to another colony? I guess it would make sense if you were forming like a big East African colony and you wanted to put it all under one umbrella, I suppose. Hang on a minute. Djibouti. Is this Djibouti? I always get this wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong in the comments. This is French. Why is this currently owned? Is this a bug? Are you showing us something here? What's happening? Italy declaring war on France in 1936. Madness. So this will unlock the Italian-Ethiopian Empire. Gains decisions to core territories that you've claimed once you've captured them. Gains a claim on French Somaliland. Oh, it's French Somaliland. Okay. So it will also, in the event of a peace conference, give you a massive multiplier to taking this specific territory that's in the Horn of Africa, East Africa. Oh man, I'm mixed about this because this is going to come under the umbrella of the new peace conference rework. And will peace conferences really even matter? Here's the one big concerns with peace conference bonuses. Once the war's already ended, the game's kind of already done. When World War II ends, and for instance the Axis fall, or the Commonwealth fall, or the Allies fall, at that point there's not a lot extra to do. So let's just say Italian-Ethiopian Empire does actually get all of the Horn of Africa. Where do you go from there? I mean, you've not gained enough land to actually make yourself too OP. Where do you go from there? You know what I mean? That it just feels like there needs to be like the next step. I feel like Cold War expansion is going to come eventually, and it would make more sense for taking land in a World War II setting. This is what loyalty gets you. Loads and loads of land in East Africa. On top of that, not only can you work with the Italians, but you can also work against them by setting up customs barrier, which limits their access to Ethiopia. And as you can see, some of these bonuses. Together for victory. Ooh, expansion. Our enemy's enemy. Ooh, and a raid Italian depots. So eventually you are saying, I love Italy. I love Italy. I love Italy. No, I don't love Italy anymore. Our enemy's enemy. So this will basically get a bunch of guns from all the other major powers to basically give the big finger to Italy. And it also looks like if you raid their supply depots, you will be getting loads and loads of weapons as well. Is this because you're at war with them, or is it just because this is what gains you from the focus? I don't know. So we have the option at the very bottom of consolidating in East Africa, which gives claims. So claims are involved in the new peace conference rework, meaning that you're more likely to take them in a peace conference, so therefore this land will be a lot cheaper in a peace conference. However, when it comes down to how much you gain from this, is a bit limited. You do gain the ability to core this territory. Please make this fairly cheap to core. Please don't make this overly expensive. Don't be like 100 political power per state that takes fucking 6 months. Please don't do that. Please make it affordable. Please be making my worth my while. Remember, I'm coring territory that has no factories and very little resources. Please make it worth my while. Don't make it too expensive. I'm begging you, PDX, please. So whether you work with the Italians and gain land off them, or you work against the Italians, you end up getting land anyway. So it's the end of the day, it's going to consolidate at the end by making a big East African empire. Communist path is next. Military communism. This gives you a very small amount of communist support over a year, 0.05. That's less than what the advisor gives. We've reached the point where the political ideology pie chart is kind of meaningless because you tend to flip ideologies through focus tree now. So that system of popularity doesn't really mean a great deal. It feels like one of those redundant old features from the vanilla game. Maybe ideology will be reworked at some point. Maybe. To be fair, if it was a simplified system and you got rid of the pie chart, which I know would upset a bunch of you guys because you love looking at your little colored pie charts, it would make the game easier for the devs because at the end of the day, you don't have to have all those little bits and pieces in focus trees. I'm just suggesting that, okay, at the end of the day, I want to have more content for Hoi 4, and sometimes if you simplify elements of the game that don't really add a great deal to the texture of the game, it might be easy for the developers. I'm always looking out for the devs because I think they do a fantastic job on this game. A coup! A coup? Oh, wow, so we throw out the monarchists, I presume. I feel like a lot of these communist paths are all very similar, aren't they? It's like, well, you support the king, ooh, off with your head, send them away to Canada. And in this case, yeah, that's right, we don't like the emperor anymore. Very communist of you. Ooh, look at the hammer and sickle division, the red guard divisions. Call out to the world or the Soviet aid. Guys, listen, if you're gonna make me go with the Soviet Union path, give me awesome bonuses. Give me like big chunks of consumer goods reduction. Give me a 20-30% reduction in consumer goods to get support from the Soviet Union. Make me worth my while, but then I have to be the bitch of the Soviet Union, obviously. But if you're going to go for call out for the world, give me expansion options. Let's see if it goes with that. This is my prediction. I don't know, but we'll have a little look. So down the Soviet path, we've got Soviet rifles, guns, Soviet generals, clearing the skies, or going for a counter-armored threat. Kind of a bit strange. You don't usually see Italian armor in Africa, usually, do you? I don't know. Soviet mediation. Basically, the Soviets are going to step in and say, hey, stop the war. Don't do the war, please. I don't know why Stalin sounds Italian. Hopefully, that man gains some kind of rapport with the Italians by speaking the lingo. Soviet Union demands foreign policy alignment. So basically, are you willing to give up your sovereignty in order to become Stalin's butch? Possibly. Option to eventually liberate the French Somaliland. This is just a war goal against France. I'd be very, very disappointed. Give me more diplomatic options. Don't always result in a massive war just for a little bit of land. If I occupy France Somaliland and they don't defend it and I hold it for like 6 months, give me a white peace option where I just get it and I end up white piecing the French line. Don't just make me go to war. Please stop ending focus trees with a big war. I just feel like it's not worth. So you're basically freeing these nations from the colonies, the imperialist nations of France and the UK, to join the imperialist nation of Ethiopia. Oh, wow. I love communism. Lots of options to expand and become a major power. I like the concept of if the focus tree ends by you get so much support by the Soviet Union, you end up becoming a major power. So request ships, freedom of gunfight, decision to liberate East African nations. Once again, these focuses are really cool if they're executed correctly. If this results in firing World War II early, that disappoints me. It needs to be ways of isolated, small conflict, or even border conflicts, which result in gaining land and therefore not causing the whole world to collapse in on itself. These focuses are hard, to be honest with you, because the existing Hoi 4 mechanics kind of prevent you from doing stuff like this. Once again, we'll see how it turns out. I'm a little bit hesitant. We'll see. We'll see. Offer the owner of Sudanese territory peace if they agree to accomplish lands and territory to the People's Democratic Republic of Ethiopia currently controls. Sudanese territory is currently controlled and become the Ethiopian puppet. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. Don't just liberate this land and make it an independent nation, because at the end of the day, I want to expand my territory. I want to become bigger. I want to become fatter. I want to become stronger, and making it a puppet state of your nation just feels really cool. It's so important that you just don't liberate territory. At the end of the day, in Hoi 4, you want to make your borders big. You want to paint the map, and you want to build yourself an industrial power. I mean, the concept of Africa is perfect if you think about it, because it's a nation that's technically backwards. It's very weak. It hasn't got a lot of industry. It hasn't got a lot of research. So the idea of getting a leg up from a major power in Europe and then eventually becoming a major power to be a threat against Europe, it's such a cool concept. So you just got to be careful with these focuses. They need to be meaningful. Give me meaningful focuses. But this looks good. I like this. I like this. And 50 political power is really cheap too. Getting that balance between make it affordable and worth my while is hard. If it's 100 political power, we're starting to move beyond the realm of affordability. But I think 50 is a sweet spot. Maybe I would go with 25. I don't know. So we've got some new advisors. The International Anarchist. Internationally spreading anarchy. The anti-union pure anarchist. There we go. We love unions and we also hate them. And the transnational anarchist. You know, I actually don't know the difference between transnational and international. I actually don't know. And you know what? I'm not going to Google it. I'm going to let you guys in the comment section decide. So this looks like it's a civil war against the Italians. That means, have you already capitulated? At this point, you go through the communist focus street and then you rise up against the Ethiopians. Oh my god, that would be a really cool option. Well, this one's interesting. Cool name. African Wildfire. Gain command power, political power. They unlock the decisions to increase resistance and boost autonomy gain in African countries, allows the People's Democratic Republic of Ethiopia to intervene in African wars of independence. We have the option to build anti-British propaganda. 15 political power. Oh, that's so affordable. Thank you, PDX. Thanks for listening. One of the issues when you spend political power on decisions is you're not spending them on your nation as a whole. So you either build your nation tall by investing in advisors or high command, or you invest them in decisions. You have to choose between one or the other. You have to play a balancing act of which ones you tend to go for. If these focuses end up being too expensive, it's just really not worth it. Support the South African independence. Oh, that's so cool. And eventually an African Union. Now this is the sweet spot. I think this is going to be the most fun path for Ethiopia. Here, boys, we have the option to create a super gargantuan African nation. Kind of looks like everyone's being liberated here. Are they a puppet of me? Do I get to control them? I don't know. African Union. I think that's where we're going, lads. Oh, please. Please make this worthwhile, but expensive and rewarding. I'll say it again. Listen to me closely, guys. I'm not trying to say make it easy. Don't make me press a button and get something for free, okay? Make me work for it. Let me spend political power. Let me have to spend command power. Basically, strain all the resources of my nation to be able to expand in an unusual fashion for me later on to build up bigger and stronger. So it needs to feel like you have to work for it to finally get that payoff at the very end of it. But don't make it like another massive clusterfuck where everyone's going to cause World War II earlier than usual. I feel like you need the ability to expand without causing World War II. Is that going to be possible? I don't know. There will not be a dev diary for 2 weeks, but the next dev diary will be about the new plane designer. This is something that we have not seen any screenshots of apart from the one screenshot. And this is the one screenshot that's on the Steam page. So we have, looks like machine guns. This is a bomb. It's classed as a fighter airframe. Anyway, point being is we've not actually had any more in-depth information about the air rework, which I was surprised to see would be in this expansion because it feels like such a major change. But however, now you'll be able to design planes the way you do with ships, the way you do with tanks. Lots of exploit potential is there. Which is interesting. This plane does air superiority and it also does naval strike and port strike because it's got torpedoes on it. Lots of interesting combinations here. I feel like people are going to make a plane that does everything. That basically does close air support, air superiority, naval strike, maybe even strategic bombing. I don't know, maybe. So how many of the non-sensitive focuses are there? It feels like you could be doing to build up for years unless they're a good mix of 35-day less focuses. This is very true. I feel like at the very start of the game, you need more 35 focuses to get the momentum going to do things before you actually get 70-day focuses so you can get more into the mid-late game. It does seem to me that the majority of them are going to be 70-day focuses. Why? Because the focus trees aren't overall as big as some other nations, for instance. It says there's a mix of two, but most of the initial ones are 35 days when you're at war with Italy. Oh, that's actually what I said. That's good. Wow, that's exactly, the devs just repeat exactly what I said. Holy crap. Ethiopia did not proceed with the communist route and Japan entered the communist route. Could Japan use specific advisors? We haven't looked at making them available to Japan yet, but it would be interesting. However, if Japan and Ethiopia became a communist, there'll be some kind of unique chain events that trigger when you go to Ethiopia. Oh god, guys, maybe I've skipped over the of this dev diary too quickly, but these specific individuals, how do they relate to the Ethiopian focus tree? Are they somehow like advisors you get from Japan that somehow are incorporated into your communist path? I actually may have skipped over that. Let me know. PDX generally don't do this. They don't tend to have two expansion packs that tend to overlap. One exception was Death or Dishonor when they released Battle for the Bosporus because you got a few improvements there. Hey, maybe they've not talked about it yet, but maybe there'll be some improvements to the existing focus trees when this expansion comes out. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. What happens if the AI takes the communist path, for example? This is always a big deal, this, because when the focus trees interlap, a lot of issues can happen. Will they retreat the forces from Ethiopia and ask for a white peace or something? It's something we've been ironing out with guys working on Italy. Depends on what happens in the world. We don't want things to feel too unrewarding or abrupt for the Ethiopian player, so we'll get back to you on that one. Ah, that's scary a little bit. Makes you think they've not thought of it. So specifically a leader here. It says, will he become the leader of Madagascar when liberated? Interesting. Okay, that's once again another gentleman I don't know a great deal about. Let me know in the comments if you do know. Will Anarchist Spain have ties to Anarchist Ethiopia? I mean, the historical answer to this will be no, because the idea is anarchist nations are kind of self-autonomous, aren't they? Do they not build international relations? I don't know. Once again, guys, a gap in my knowledge of what anarchy is. The anarchist communist Ethiopia will either be able to aid the Spanish anarchists by sending volunteers to them, or allow them to take refuge in Ethiopia should they be defeated. That's interesting. Give me some good bonuses. Give me good bonuses. That'd be cool. A lot of people asking questions: would the anarchist Spain cooperate with the African Union? It's going to be really interesting now. Once again, my presumption is going to be no. Will there ever be a DLC that bridges the gap between DLC? All right, boys, that's pretty much it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. More Dev Diary content. I hope you enjoyed this. Anything I missed out, let me know in the comments below and tell me about the advice I missed out. Good night and God bless. I love you. This video technically is part 2.